two moments of the film. And I think these two moments are what makes that film. It was wonderful. We get to see Anakin Skywalker. We know what type of pilot he is. I mean, he is skilled, and we know that, because he passed that on to his son, and then that's passed on to his grandson. So we got to see Anakin shine, all right? So the pod race is number 4.
That's really the part that I remember the most about the Phantom Menace, watching that pod race sequence.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone, were big fans of old films. If you saw Ben-Hur, that was really the inspiration for the pod race because it was a chariot race, and it was Ben-Hur. I mean, even back in the day, I think that movie came out in 1959. What they did in that chariot race was just incredible at that time. And here you are, 30, 40 years later.
It feels like Fast and Furious, but in outer space or something.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, number 4 is the pod race. All right, number 3, top 3 contribution from the Phantom Menace has to be Ewan McGregor. That's only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a perfect casting, and I honestly believe, maybe not in the first movie, but as the prequel trilogy progressed, Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi just transcends. I don't even know how else to put it. He was just, you don't want to forget about Alec Guinness, because Alec Guinness set the groundwork for that character, right? And that made that character legendary. And Ewan McGregor just took it and made it his own. And I can't see anybody else besides Ewan McGregor outside of Alec Guinness playing that role. So.
And James Earl Taylor.
And James Arnold Taylor, right? The voice of James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah, he's actually here at Fan Expo, so go say hi to him, tell him I sent you.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor, he's a Scottish actor. He didn't do a lot of work before the Phantom Menace. I mean, he's known for Train Spotting, if anyone saw that. Very quirky characters and films that he played, and not someone I would have thought would be Obi-Wan Kenobi. But again, he was just an amazing actor. And you know how amazing he was. He said at the time when the prequel trilogy came out, he got so much backlash for those films. Critics panned it. Some of the Star Wars fans did not like it. And for years, that's all he kept hearing was how bad the prequel trilogies were. And after Revenge of the Sith, he said he was done. I'm not gonna play this character anymore. I don't see anybody bringing me back. But lo and behold, now we have Twitter and Instagram, and all you're seeing are these tweets about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ewan McGregor, when's he gonna come back? And he gets these questions all the time. Are you gonna play Obi-Wan again? When are you coming back? And then, I don't know if you remember, he made an announcement with Kathleen Kennedy. He was on the stage. I think it was one of the celebration stages. And she asked the question directly so everyone could hear. And she says, are you going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again? And he said yes. And everybody just exploded. It was wonderful. And he did, and he came back, in his own series, so. And I know it's not the last time we're gonna see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but what a perfect casting.
Yeah.
What to say about that? No.
They did a good job.
Okay. It's early. All right. Okay, so we got 2 left.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's do a recap. So we got number 5 is Midi-Chlorians. Number 4 is a pod race. Number 3 is Ewan McGregor. Number 2, it is not easy to create a villain that is so evil and admired by people, but they did it. With the original trilogy, Darth Vader, classic. No one can replace Darth Vader. They did it again in the prequel trilogy. Number 2, Darth Maul, right?
Yeah.
Any Darth Maul fans out here? Amazing character. I mean, when I saw him for the first time, I don't know what your reaction was, but he just looked like the devil to me.
Yeah, he looked like a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, he had the red face and the black paint and the horns. Like, wow, like he's gonna scare kids. Like this is not a kids movie, But you weren't scared when you saw it. right?
No.
Do you recall? Yeah.
I don't think so. He was actually more scary in the Clone Wars, and that's because he was consistently yelling about something. So.
Yes. He was, yeah, we'll get to the Clone Wars. I mean, he was just, he was very mad. He was very upset, this poor guy. Anyway.
Very mad at Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, here's this, okay, the Sith is coming, all right? And you have the rule of two, and we know what it means, but the Jedi, they're blind. They have no idea that the Sith even exist. But then we see him, and we look at him, and we know what happens at the end. What do you call it that happened when he got the half-off deal? You call it?
They gave him the 50-50 discount.
They gave him the 50-50 discount. You know, he was, I mean, amazing. You know, like, okay, you know, he got cut in half, and we thought that was the end of that character.
But he was too angry to die.
I think that's what it was. That's what kept him alive.
Which makes sense for Maul in the sense that he's just so mad at Kenobi for taking his legs that he's not going to let Kenobi live that down. So
Yeah. And then who knew that he would come back in the Clone Wars? I mean,
he'd be like one of the my favorite characters of all the Star Wars.
Yeah, and he had the best arcs in the Clone Wars. You know, when he came back and he went to Dathomir and, you know, Mother Talzin restored his legs, and he was just on a vendetta for Kenobi up until the very end, you know, his last dying breath. And then, go ahead.
I think the way that they brought back Darth Maul made a lot of sense. Like, I know in some respects it's the catalyst for that Obi-Wan Kenobi points where the Grand Inquisitor and Reva were just using play mode lightsabers and managed to survive, you know, getting impaled by a lightsaber. But, you know, I think when they did it with Darth Maul, they made it make sense for the story and for his character. And he didn't overstay his welcome either. He was there as long as he needed to be.
Yeah. And then did you know, I'm sure if you watched the Siege of Mandalorian, you know, the last few episodes of the Clone Wars and his storyline with Ahsoka, amazing. It was amazing. And then he comes back in Rebels, you know. It was awesome. And, you know, just that scene, you know, when he takes his final breath on Tatooine and he finally meets Obi-Wan Kenobi for the last time. And it took just, 3 strokes of a lightsaber for Obi-Wan to take him down, and he was out.
Obi-Wan could have had a cup of tea while fighting Darth Maul. Without his lightsaber. Maul was just so angry that he's let his rage blind him, and really showed in that last fight.
Yeah, he didn't have a chance against Obi-Wan. He could never defeat Obi-Wan, and we know that. So, but you know, hopefully he's finally come to an end. We won't see much of him unless it's flashbacks. There is a comic book, a graphic novel that I recommend if you have not read it, called The Son of Dathomir.
Yeah, it's actually a scrapped Clone Wars arc back when season 6 was the last season. So I just put it in a graphic novel. It's very good. I have also read it.
Yeah, exactly. So there were screenplays. So, you know, Clone Wars was canceled. So those unproduced screenplays were turned into a graphic novel. Wonderful story. So I highly recommend it if you have not read it. All right. Anything else you want to say about Darth Maul?
No. Except, why was he in Crimson Dawn?
Oh, that's right. Let's talk about that.
So that scene in Solo where he just shows up and ignites his lightsaber over a Skype call for some reason. I don't really know why he was there. I thought his story was over after Rebels, but sure. I would actually enjoy seeing what he's doing running Crimson Dawn. However, he's part of Crimson Dawn at this point. Yeah. That could actually be a really good show.
That's a very good point. I would love to see Kira come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since 2018, that was the last time we ever saw Kira on screen, and she's had a whole comic book run of running Crimson Dawn. They should definitely either adapt that into a show or a movie, or come up with a brand new storyline for that.
Yeah. So I would love to see him come back. I mean, that would be the only way, because he was the head of Crimson Dawn, and I want to see him pass the torch to Kira and have her take over Crimson Dawn. But again, if you are a comic book fan and if you read the series, it's Crimson Dawn and Crimson Reign, it's wonderful. So please check that out as well. All right, so.
We've also reviewed it on our podcast.
Yes, we also have that on our podcast, yeah. We have a lot on our podcast. All right, so we are down to number 1. My phone just went dead.
All right, well, we have a laptop.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Okay.
You know, it's a lucky thing your phone died when it did, because that was the hotspot right there, and it's already loaded, so...
Yeah, now it's restarted.
Good job that your phone died when, like, right at the end. Okay, we got this.
We got
So,
this. All right.
number one, drum roll, please.
Well, let's start from top 5 again. All right, so number 5 again, midi-chlorians. All right. Number 4 is the pod race. Number 3, Ewan McGregor. Number 2, Darth Maul. Does anybody want to guess what number 1 is? You know, what the biggest contribution that Phantom Menace has made to Star Wars? What do you got?
All right, good one. I'll let you have that.
He's about number 7 or 8. What do you got? What do you think? Duel of the Fates. Number 1.
Yeah, not just the scene, but the music. Like,
Yes.
that is in my wake-up playlist. I just wake up and I think of, like, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan fighting Darth Maul for some reason.
That's interesting. Okay.
It says a lot about me.
Duel of the Fates for a couple of reasons. One, whenever you see a clip, if anybody, you know, if you're on TV or you're watching YouTube, anyone is talking about the Phantom Menace, that's the clip you're more than likely going to see. And there's a reason for that. Because that lightsaber battle is on point. It is wonderful. Never been seen before. It was like a ballet. It was acrobatic. They really went out. You know, I'll be honest with you. Okay, so going back to Return of the Jedi, I know I wasn't going to talk about Return of the Jedi, but so in Return of the Jedi, there are 3 storylines going on, right? So, you know, in the last act, so you have the battle on Endor, You have the battle in the skies trying to take down the Death Star, and then you have Luke and Vader and the Emperor in the throne room. Okay, so the Phantom Menace tried to do the same thing, all right? So you have this battle that's happening on Naboo with the battle droids and the Gungans. Then you also have Anakin in space. I still have no idea what he was doing in space. I think he was just trying to take down...
Yeah, I mean, there was that line he said where he's like, now this is pod racing, but it's really not. I mean, you're kind of in space shooting down like a really massive spaceship. I didn't know his pod racer could shoot.
Yeah. I didn't quite understand what it was. I think it has something to do, I think he accidentally shut down the battle droids so that it would end
I guess his midi-chlorians kicked in.
Yeah, right, his midi-chlorians. All right. And then you have the battle, the lightsaber duel with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, which outshines those other 2 storylines, hands down. And every time they would cut to the other 2 scenes, like, no, come back to the lightsaber battle.
Switch it back.
Yeah, right. I don't want to see the rest of that stuff. You know, it was extraordinary. And what made it even better is John Williams' music. His contributions. John Williams' contribution to Star Wars is immeasurable. I mean, we can spend another panel just talking about what he's done and what our favorite tracks are, but he's done something that was never done before. He brought in not just the orchestra, you know, he went back and got the London Symphony Orchestra back, same orchestra that conducted the original trilogy, performed for the original trilogy, brought them back. He also brought back a chorus of London Voices. And he put those 2 together, and he came up with a masterful track that if you hear it, you immediately think of that lightsaber battle. Like, they go hand in hand. That, to me, is the Phantom Menace, right? Now, you know, I think we can all agree that even if it's not your favorite film, that moment, that lightsaber battle cannot be matched with any other lightsaber battle, in my opinion. And again, you know, you have Ray Park, who was trained, you know, he played Darth Maul, and then the work that Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor had to do, the training they had to do to fight the battle, and then the advanced technology and the visual effects.
Yeah, there was just enough visual effects to make this movie look perfect, but not overboard.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, Attack of the Clones came out, so...
Oh, we're not going to talk about the Attack of the Clones. Not just yet.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones and the PS2 graphics they used to run.
Okay.
Alright, that's enough about Attack of the Clones. And the PS2 graphics they used to run in the Clone Troopers.
Yeah. So, this is our celebration of the Phantom Menace. You know, this is why we love the movie. It may not be, as a whole, again, the best, but there are some elements in there that can't be matched. And we're celebrating the 25th anniversary, and that's why that movie is going to go down in history. All right, so
Yes.
Wonderful things. All right, so we wanted to leave time for questions. So you absolutely, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. You can talk about any movie,
If
anything
you like,
want.
you can come up and take the mic. So.
No, we could probably hear you. All right, let me get this gentleman here. Hi.
I find it interesting that the #1 contribution for Phantom Menace is Anakin Skywalker on your list.
Is not on my
It's
list.
not on your list. Well, not in the top 5. It's Anakin Skywalker, and the whole series revolves around Anakin Skywalker.
That's true.
So I just find that interesting. I mean, not that it's a spiritual list, but I find it
Yeah.
I feel like Anakin was like kind of more. He was introduced in Return of the Jedi more so as Anakin Skywalker, like he was mentioned in The New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but his real character showed after he had chucked Palpatine into that reactor shaft that he would then come back from. So.
Well, my thought is that Anakin was only 9 years old, and I don't think he knew at that time how powerful he was, you know, his strength. And I think he was just trying to understand who he is, who his mentors are. So if you're thinking about the movie, The Phantom Menace, I don't know if Anakin made that much of a contribution in that film, and I think it happened later on in maybe episode 2 and definitely in episode 3.
I think it was a much bigger contribution to those two movies.
Yes, exactly.
Not as much as the
Exactly.
Phantom Menace, like he wasn't really the main character.
Yeah, nothing to take away from the character, but I just think at 9 years old, there's only so much you can do at 9. You know, so they didn't really give him all that opportunity. Really, it was the focus was on the Sith. It was the Jedi Council. Anakin to me was a supporting character until we get to Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Yes. Question in the back.
I would say the reason I didn't like the Midi-Chlorians wasn't because of some complicated explanation. It was because they created a thing. Because when you go to the original trilogy, the Force was just the Force. It was this mystical thing that no one understood.
Good
but
point.
Some people in the universe have access to whatever this wonderful mystical thing is. And then since Lucas was freaked out by people creating a religion out of the Force, he decided to ground it. And I just didn't, I understood the explanation perfectly. I just didn't think the Force should have been grounded. I like that it was this mystical thing in the universe that only some people had access to.
I agree with
That's
you.
actually a side I've seen a lot of people take. I do agree, though. It is kind of strange that they kind of made like force particles, essentially.
Yeah.
It was kind of cooler, where like it's just an energy that binds the galaxy together, and some people are more powerful in it than others. Especially because like now everybody can have the force in some capability.
Yeah. The way Obi-Wan explained it to Luke in the movie, I was fine with it. I didn't really need to know more about it. And
There's some things like how Nick Fury got that scratch on his eye that just don't need to be said. You can wonder forever.
right, exactly. You don't need
And
to
then
know
Captain
exactly
Marvel
how
came
it
out,
happened.
so never mind that point.
Yeah. And then, and it was enhanced in The Empire Strikes Back when you saw Yoda actually use the Force. Sometimes it's better to show than tell. I think, that explanation in the movie, Phantom Menace, was just overcomplicated, and it didn't need to be. But I agree, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
Yes,
last
sir.
question.
In the back. No, we have more time for more questions. Yes, sir.
I just want to say that to biologists, the whole idea of midi-chlorians makes an awful lot of sense because there's a theory that the mitochondria in our cells, the powerhouse in our cells, are from extra-human origin and created symbiotic relations with our own cells. And so, again, when I heard that explanation, I thought, well, we already know that.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Again, I don't think it needed that much of an explanation. I think that was one of the things that might have bogged down the movie. That he spent. When I went back and I watched that scene, I mean, it lasted for 3 minutes, And Qui-Gon was the one was giving a lot of expository explanation on it, and I just like, wow, they spent 3 minutes talking about something called midi-chlorians, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. You
Like,
know?
I'm all for introducing new concepts retroactively, but when it takes 3 minutes to explain a concept, at some point you just need to either make it simpler or just kind of let that concept go.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
That's a really nice concept. Where'd you get it?
The helmet.
Yeah, I actually had a friend of mine make it. His name is Mike, so really good help.
Is it Rex helmet?
Yeah, it's actually Captain Rex.
Mm-hmm.
I should actually add the tally marks on it, though. It does not have that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a gift for us. So it was very nice. So shout out to Mike Hinton. You know, he's very good artist. Yes.
No, he had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Someone had a hand up? Yeah. Yes.
Great. So I just want to mention about the Obi-Wan and Darth Maul's final fight. Even though it's so short, so much is shown. I've heard the form names for like what Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn used. But like to start it out, Obi-Wan was in his form, and then he swapped to Qui-Gon Jinn's form. And so Darth Maul making you make Qui-Gon say the mistake, he a lot high for hitting the truth.
Yeah.
He was struck low. I thought like even though the fight was so short, it showed so much.
Oh yeah. It shows power, absolute power, in such a short period of time. Yeah. And it shows how much Obi-Wan has grown in the Force. That he doesn't have to even use that much strength to wield the Force.
Albeit a very short scene, I find that as I've gotten older, I really appreciated that scene
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes.
Not to harp on the midi-chlorian thing, but
Oh
boy.
We're here to talk about midi-chlorians all day.
there's a Ben Solo comic where it shows Luke training Ben,
Uh-huh.
the other Jedi, and he says the higher the midi-chlorian count, the wider the door open is to the Force, but anyone can open a door. And I really like that.
Yeah.
But I did have an actual question.
Sure.
So, with you two experiencing Star Wars releases in different ways, like in theaters versus on Disney Plus, and at different ages, how does that affect your perspectives as you talk about stuff?
You want me to go? Well,
You first.
Well, I of course watched the movies in order because I was old enough to watch Star Wars when it came out. Keith
I
watched
did
the
pretty much the same thing. I
Right,
watched
pretty
them in
much.
the order they came out.
right.
So like I watched original trilogy first, and then the prequels, and then I watched Force Awakens because that was out at the time. And then I started watching the Clone Wars back when it was on Netflix, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were watching the Clone Wars at the same time as the sequel trilogy was coming out.
Correct.
Right. So, and did it confuse you, the timeline? Did you realize that the Clone Wars? So you were okay. You
Yeah,
understood
it
what was
pretty
going
much
on.
made
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I gotta thank my mom for my comprehension of literally everything. So, round of applause for my mom, please.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, Keith and I spent a lot of time just breaking down characters and timelines, you know.
Yeah, we wrote a chart.
Yeah, we went far. We're nerds. We're nerds. So,
This
yeah.
is the man who taught me how to count Roman numerals when I was like 4.
Yes, exactly, right. So, you know, we create a chart and, you know, one side is heroes, one side is villains. Name all the heroes, name the villains. So he knew the difference between the two.
Yeah, we kind of hit a moral quandary when we got to Anakin
Yeah,
Skywalker.
yeah, right. So how do you categorize Anakin? So we said, okay, well, Anakin is the good guy, and then Darth Vader is the villain. You know. But anyway, yeah. So as long as you understand the timelines, which apparently Keith did, he knew that the Clone Wars, you know, this is all taking place before the films. But you know, before the original trilogy, but right after the prequel trilogy. So yeah, it's not hard. It's a lot to learn, but if you understand the timeline, you don't have to know exactly when it's happening. You just know, oh, this is before that, or this is after the Clone Wars, or this is after the second Death Star battle. Once you get that down, it's kind of easier to follow. You just need to just have a starting point, and you can start anywhere you want, and then just work your way in whatever organized situation you want to do it. You know, if you want to start with sequel, sequel trilogy or start with a prequel. It doesn't matter. Start with the Clone Wars. It's just so much of it that's out there right now. So I don't think it matters at this point as far as what you watch first. Just as long as you understand the timelines. Any other questions? Yes.
So people have different interpretations of what the title of Phantom Menace actually refers to. Do you think it's Maul? Do you think it's Palpatine or the Sith in general? What's your opinion on that?
I feel like the Phantom Menace is the Sith, actually.
I actually thought it was Palpatine.
You know.
Because, go ahead. Well, explain why you think it's the Sith. I guess it's the Sith.
Yeah, because they're like looming over the Jedi. The whole point is that Palpatine has been playing both sides of the Jedi and the Sith. So the Phantom Menace, in my interpretation, is that the Sith are just sitting there waiting to pounce upon the Jedi and take them all down, rule the galaxy as the Galactic Empire.
Yes. I mean, like, the evil that is lurking is right there in front of them, and they don't even know it. And that's Palpatine, a politician. He's the one that's supposed to be running the Republic and knowing what's best for his people, but he's all about himself. So he's the one that's lurking in the shadows, So.
Yeah. Do we have time for any more questions?
I think we do. 11:30. If there's any more questions, yes. Yes, in the back.
As you go into your favorite things of Phantom Menace, because it wasn't my favorite movie, it was Williams who made that a movie okay for me.
Yeah.
And connecting to the whole idea of the Sith hiding in plain sight, my favorite two moments of the movie are Anakin's theme because it's Darth Vader's theme.
Yes.
And then at the end when we are introduced to the Emperor's theme, now being used for the Naboo celebration, that is the same music, the exact same music, only in a higher register.
Yes.
Those are the two moments for me that just bring everything together.
That movie is full of great music, and I was not aware about the scene at the end of the parade march where I still can't pick it up, but people are. I see. Okay. Yeah. Now I get it. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. It's amazing. That's just John Williams. He's so talented. And he knows the players, he knows the characters very well, and he knows what the music needs to do. Even though we may not even be aware of it. He's aware of it. So it's good to know what's going to happen if you listen to the music, because the music tells you what's going to happen next. Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Any other questions? Oh yeah. Okay.
So after watching Clone Wars,
Yes.
I come back to Phantom Menace with new appreciation because they retroactively add things that's oh, that's so funny. The one that comes to mind is Anakin has a poster of the pod with the Booty pod race, and it's the headliners are Sebulba and Ben Quadraneros.
Yes.
And it's Ben Quadraneros can even start off the race, so it's crazy that he was the headliner. Is there anything like that you pull from Clone Wars or Mandalorian and come back to Phantom Menace and you're that's so funny that that's a thing that we're coming back to?
That's true, yeah. The scene in The Mandalorian, well, actually it's the Book of Boba Fett, where
The Book of Boba Fett was just Mandalorian 2.5.
Right, yes. It's, his ship is already gone, destroyed in season 2, and he comes back and he gets an N1 starfighter. And he goes to Beggar's Canyon, the same place where the race took place, to test out the ship. I thought that was pretty cool. That was a great call. Yeah, that was a great callback to the Phantom Menace. Yeah. But again, it calls back to the best parts of the Phantom Menace. It calls back to the pod race, right? It doesn't call back to the Gungan battle. It doesn't come back to the underwater sequence. I mean, not yet. I mean, we haven't seen it since then, but yeah. I mean, we know what the Phantom Menace strengths and weaknesses are. So when they do a callback, they're going to call back on the parts that make the Phantom Menace, extremely, wonderful.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for now.
All right.
So,
All right, so
just
yeah.
a final thank you to Box Lunch for these awesome outfits. Did not get mine yet.
Yours is coming, yeah. But,
mine is on the way.
Yeah, thank you, Box Lunch.
Thank you very much.
thank you so much. We really appreciate. Again, we did not expect that we were going to have this big of a turnout, but you are apparently early risers, so I really do appreciate it. You know,
Starbucks crowd.
Yeah, and enjoy Saturday. Saturday is huge, as you know. I'm sure you've probably been here more than once, but have a great time. Happy May the 4th, everybody. All right. Yes. Thank you.
All right, no more hot mics.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, bless you. Thank you so much.